Welcome to Season 3 of Dating After Death, a podcast dedicated to the journey of finding love again after losing your forever person. And I'm your semi-anonymous host, but if you know, you know. Well, this week we were looking at a completely different kind of episode because we thought it would be fun while we were in Costa Rica to do sort of a roundtable chat about some of our dating stories. So most of these are silly or ridiculous or hard to believe. And I will just caveat by saying, don't let this discourage you. People are going to have weird dates. I think that's part of the process. You just have to know that's coming. There are some also sweet stories in here. And then later in the week, we decided that we wanted to do some quick questions related to sex specifically, because some of us were talking about how there are things you just don't know after being with a partner for so long in terms of what's typical for other people. So we thought we would address some of those things at the end with our quick questions sex edition. So I hope you enjoy this and listening in a little bit to our week together. One more thing before we get started. I just feel like this is a natural opportunity to promote the camping trip in Colorado at the beginning of August. So that trip is happening August 5th through the 10th. And it is a 5-day trip that starts and ends in Denver and drives to multiple locations, from Gunnison National Park to the Sand Dunes to Aspen to Rocky Mountain National Park, doing some really cool things. And just coming off of this week with these other ladies, I just feel like it was such a transformative experience. And I just really want to encourage you to not let the camping thing scare you, because I can just tell you, we will all be in it together. It will not be hard, or maybe it'll be a little hard, but it's good to do hard things. And the trip caps out at only 12 people. I have a few more discounted slots left. I think there are 3 left as of April 18th, and then the price will go to the normal price. So I just don't want those of you who are on the fence to miss the opportunity to sign up for the trip. I would really encourage it, and I think the women who came to Costa Rica would probably say the same thing. It's just really a powerful thing to be a part of. So if you can swing it, we would love to have you. I will put the link to this in the show notes, and it is always in the link in my bio, so you can check there for more information. All right, let's get to this conversation. It's fine. No, it's fine. Okay, we are sitting around the table in Costa Rica and thought it would be fun to tell some of our ridiculous dating stories. So the unnamed women of this trip are going to tell you their stories. So we're starting with unnamed woman number 1.
Okay, this is pretty short. So for context a little bit, usually in my brief few weeks of dating, I will talk to someone a lot more before going on a date with them. But I live in a small town, and this guy and I matched, and he was very cute. And he said, "When are we grabbing drinks?" And I said, "How about tonight?" Because my kids were occupied, and why the hell not? And so go there, meet for drinks, chat a little while. Then he brings up, "So I live in my van." I'm like, oh, cool. We live in an outdoorsy place. It's not that weird. And then I said, "Oh, cool. So where do you park it?" He's like, "Well, hopefully your driveway." And I think by the look on on my face, he was like, "Is that not what you're looking for?" And I said, Nope, that's not what I'm looking for." And we powered out another beer, and then that was it. Go. Right, who's next?
I have a couple short ones. So my first date, I went with this guy. Well, I started talking to this guy, and I was like, "Hey, do you have any questions about me being a widow, anything like that?" He's like, "No," and we're just texting, and he's like, "Unless it was poison, I think, I'm still in." And he really quickly was like, "I am sorry if that is a bad, it's bad taste if that's too soon or anything." I was like, "No, I laughed. Thank you for that. I appreciate that." And then recently I went out with this guy, and he was very quick again to be like, "Hey, let's meet." And was cute, and yeah, had a cool job and everything. And so I meet up with this guy, and we're talking, and right away I was like, his vibe is just not for me, but I was filling space, as I tend to do. I'll just talk. And I mentioned my father-in-law. For some reason it came up in conversation. He's like, "Wait, father-in-law? Like, stunned and shocked. And I was like, yeah, I'm a widow. In my head, I'm like, it's literally the first thing in my profile. Like, so I'm like, I don't think he read my profile at all. I don't think he brushed up like before the date or anything like that. So I was like, at the end, he was like, so should we exchange numbers? And I was like, I'll just keep it in the app for now. And like ran away. I felt kind of bad, but like, I'm like, okay, because you talk to multiple people at once, right? It's like, all right, who is this dude again? You know?
Do you read the profile or for the first time?
Yeah.
Read it to be like, who is?
Yeah, it literally first thing in my like description of my profile. So, yeah, I've tried taking it out now, based on your last episode with finding Mr. Height.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just to see, and I have gotten more likes taking it out of my profile. Yeah, so just a couple weeks, but yeah.
I have one. So I recently started seeing someone. Our first date was kind of interesting. So we met on Bumble, and we decided to meet up and go to coffee. And before we met up, like the night before, I was like, we decided we're gonna go to Starbucks, and I was like, okay, like there's like 8 Starbucks in our town. So I'm like, which Starbucks do you want to meet at? And he was like, why don't we just guess? And if we both end up at the same Starbucks, then it's meant to be. And I was like, oh, I kind of like that. And he was like, no, I'm just kidding. I'm like, no. We're going to do this. Because I was also at the time reading that book, Signs. So I was like very like into that. I'm like, if it's fate, it's fate. And he was like, well, I kind of know where you live, so that kind of, there's a Starbucks like right a mile from my house. So in my head, I'm like, we're all on the same page of where we're going to be meeting. Yeah. We were not. We met, he's a firefighter, so we met up like after his shift at 8 o'clock, and I get there and I text him like, are you here? And he's like, yeah, I'm here. Are you here? Fuck. No. We were at the total wrong Starbucks. So yes, he went to the wrong one. Yeah. So he calls me like right away, and he's like, which one are you at? I'm like, I'm at this one. And he's like, oh my God, why didn't I think of that? And I'm like, I'm gonna go home now. And he's like, why are you gonna go home? I'm like, it's not meant to be. Like, it's a sign. He's like, no, I'm gonna come there. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. He was really cute, so I'm just gonna give him. So we meet up at Starbucks, and we end up sitting down. We're having like really nice conversation. I'm sitting like towards the window, and he's facing out like towards the Starbucks, so he can see everybody like walking in and out. And we're talking, and all of a sudden his face just kind of like does this change, and I could tell he was not listening to what I was saying. And I'm like, are you okay? And he was like, oh, a woman that I went on couple of dates with just walked in. And I'm like, okay, like I think it's kind of funny. I'm like, all right, like whatever. And she walks up to the table and leans down and looks at him and says, I just want to let you know 2 weeks ago you gave me an STD. And then she looks at me and she's like, so you should probably be careful. Swear to God.
Oh, what did you do?
I just like put my head, I put my head down on the table, and I look up, and he was like, that's not true. That did not happen. No, that did not happen. And I was like, I just started laughing, and I didn't know what to do. I was so uncomfortable.
Bad sign.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, but he's so cute. He's really attractive, and he's a firefighter, and he's really fit. So he was like, do you want to go? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm just going to pretend like that didn't happen. Honestly, I felt really bad. I felt bad for him because he almost started crying. Like, he was so embarrassed that happened. And
It's mortifying.
right, yeah. And I was like, whether it's...
Do you think he ghosted her and she was just pissed?
He said that they had a conversation, like they went out a couple of times, and he said they had a conversation, like that he just wasn't interested in moving forward, and that it was like mutual, like they were fine. And then
Coffee shop.
That happened. Yeah. So I did give him the benefit of the doubt, and we ended up having like a really nice conversation. At the end of it, he was like, "So do you want to go on a second date with me?" And I was like, "I'm gonna need a clean bill of health." And he was like, "Just for a second date? I'm not gonna try to sleep with you on a second date." And I was like, "Well, maybe I will. I don't know." So anyways, we've been seeing each other for like 2 months now, and we're like exclusive now or whatever, and it's kind of cute.
Did you get it?
We did. Yes. So, success. Cheers. And I'm 100% going to tell him that he's going to be on a podcast.
I'll share a story. My first and only date that came from the apps was, I was not in a good place, just super lonely, looking for someone fun, warm body, and went to a brewery, got super drunk, immediately was like, this guy's nice, but like, it's not going to be anything. Like, you just know. Plus, it was my first date ever as like a real adult. But agreed to go out with him again because I got really drunk and it was like early. I was like, sure, we'll go out again. And it was the week before Thanksgiving. And so it's the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. And my sister was spending Thanksgiving with me because my dad was sick. And so she was coming up to me with her husband. And we all went out with this guy and listened to live music. And my sister is the kind of person who just like loves everyone and doesn't know boundaries. And so she invites this guy when I'm in the bathroom to come over for Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving is like sacred. That is like, you are serious. Like if you were spending, and my dad is like dying and sick, and like so uncomfortable. And he shows up on Thanksgiving with like me, my sister, her husband, and my dad, who like is hooked up to shit and like the most like uncomfortable thing. He gets super wasted. Oh, no. Like, but doesn't realize it's not even what he thinks. He's just like being funny and hanging out with everyone. But because he spent Thanksgiving with us, he's like totally thought we were more serious, like kind of a crazy person. And I'm just like, do not ever invite someone on Thanksgiving, like ever, especially the guy that's like, I just want to have sex.
Did you have a chat with your?
Oh yeah. And at that point, she's like, we can tell him no, and I'm like, because I'm like, he does, because he said he didn't have plans, and maybe it was a line. I'm guessing he had plans and somewhere to go, but liked me, and so she was like, and I felt bad because I'm like, well, now we said yes, and still much more of a people pleaser than I have become, where I would have been like, fuck no. Sorry, we can bleep that out. Okay. So that was just like disaster. Yeah.
Boundaries.
All right, who else?
Yeah. I'm going to share it because you know what? It needs to be shared. So this was out in the wild. So it wasn't a date, but I met somebody out with my mother. My mom came in to visit me, and we went for a drink at the steakhouse attached to my apartment. So this young guy comes in about my age, and he looks really cute. He starts talking to me and my mom for 2 hours. He tells us everything about his life, his job. He lives around the corner from me. We're like, okay, great. My mom's even like this guy. My mom, in her head, I think, is thinking like, oh, maybe this is Jenna's next husband. Like, that's just how moms are, you know? So my mom leaves, and he's like, let's go get a drink. So we go get a drink, and before you know it, at the time, too, I was like not in the best space. So I was like, and we start making out, taking a shot. And he's like, I got a bottle of wine back in my place. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go back to your place. So we go back. This is literally like right next to my house. And he has a view of the city. So I'm looking out. Yeah, so I'm looking out at the city. He goes, I got to go to the bathroom. So right behind me is the bathroom. And I walk up to put my stuff down before the bottle of wine's there, so I'm about to open it up. There's a bedroom door across from me. He's behind me in the bathroom. The bedroom door opens up. And all of a sudden, a woman comes out. Yeah. I know, I'm a scaredy cat, okay? So I'm just staring there like, ah! And all of a sudden she's like, I think it's about time you leave. Yes. So at that moment, I just run. I'm literally running for the hills. It's like we were. So I pick up my bag and I run out of the apartment. I don't even look back at him because he must have been out watching this whole thing go down. So I get to the elevator, I hear screaming. I can't go back to even listen to see what's going on because I guess, I don't know what. So the next day, no, that night, I get home. And he gives me all of his information, so I put his last name in Instagram, and a woman pops up, public, and it was his wife of 3 years. Oh. Yeah. Okay.
How did he bring you home?
We are so we are so confused. My friends the next day in the group chat are like, "Oh my god!" And this is like fresh. This was like maybe a year after losing Raj. Like, and I literally was. They were like, "Oh, he wanted a threesome." I'm like, No. I didn't want a threesome. She didn't want a threesome. So I don't know what this was.
And then it gets worse a little.
Oh, when I lost my yeah. So I found him on Instagram and I DM'd him and I was like, "It was really nice of you to take me home to meet your wife." I get to work, at lunch I realize I have no wallet. So, and I was going down to the beach for the weekend, but I stop home, I go to the places we were at, can't find the wallet. I go down to the beach because I'm with my parents, so I'm like, I don't need the wallet, whatever, I'll get my stuff back, I don't know where it is. He answers 2 days later and he writes, sorry, it's a shitty situation, ... but I found your wallet, it's with the doorman. So he literally, yeah. And yeah. So, and now I see him around town with his wife.
So like no explanation.
No
like,
explanation, just a shitty situation.
Oh, I forgot. I didn't think my wife would be.
I don't know how you don't know your wife is home, but okay, I'm gonna just show you how I ran. This is the pocketbook.
I had the federal prisoner, but that was not a date.
Oh, but I want to.
We want to hear this.
Yeah, I haven't heard this one.
Come on, Evie.
Okay, so I got onto a dating app for 37 minutes. I've only done that once, and I'll never do it again. And I have met someone not on a dating app, so that's great. But I logged on. It was like late at night. My kids were gone. I was like lonely. Logged on for 37 minutes, and this gentleman messaged, and so we just were like. I then deleted the app, and we were just texting. And he asked later if we could go out for a drink. So I met him out with a girlfriend. He was out with a guy friend, and literally had been at the bar 5 minutes. The man could not even speak. He was like slurring his words. He like had his head on his hand, just kept saying like, "You're beautiful," like over and over. And so then he stood up and he's like, "I'm going home." And I'm like, "Where are you?" Okay, 5 minutes, great. So I said, "Who's driving you?" as he's slurring his words. And he goes, "I am." And I was like, "No, you are not." And I was like, "I will drive you home." So I'm driving him home, and it's so awkward. And I finally was like, "Dude, you just need to say words, like something, like this is so awkward." And he goes, "Do you know that rhinoceroses are really unicorns?" And I was like, done, fucking never again. So the next morning, 7 a.m., I'm at work, I get a text message, and it's like, "I'm so embarrassed, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "Well, we all have the nights, it's fine." So I said, "If you need a ride to your car, let me know. I'll be off this morning." And so he said that would be. Yeah. I think that's probably a fault. Too nice to a fault. And so I go and pick him up, and he comes down, and he has brown stuff all over his lips. And I was like, brown. And I said, "Do you chew tobacco?" Like, I just thought it was like crusted. And he was like, "No, why?" And I said, just flip down the mirror. So he like flips down the mirror, and he's got brown stuff literally all over. He goes, "Oh, sorry, I ate a pack of cookies for breakfast," and he just like wipes it off. So that was my.
He's a grown up.
40-something-year-old teacher. So.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is very nice of you to pick him up again.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's that story. Federal prisoner story. 3 months after my husband died, got the autopsy in the mail the same day, and a letter that was from Indiana. And I had gotten letters after he died from multiple widows who had heard, like someone who had heard my story who knew someone who was a widow who would send letters. And so this was like Indiana. So I read through the autopsy of my husband, and then I opened up the letter and I got to the second line that said, I would like to stay in contact after my release date. And I looked at my mom who was holding my baby in the kitchen, and I said, I just got a letter from a prisoner. And she was like, excuse me? And I was like, yeah. And so 2 pages of like what a great guy he is. Lost me at 5'4". My requirements were like teeth job car taller than me. Graffitied my name like on both sides of the letter. Like, and once he was like, if you would like to. I have the letter. I could read it to you guys later. But it was like he talked about like what a great guy he was. He would like pictures. He's not asking for money. Like all of these things. So I called. What? Yeah, pictures. And he was like, we could Facebook and email. It's just like texting. And I'm like, sounds like you get a lot of privileges in prison. Yeah. So I called the FBI agent who bought our home in Denver, and I asked him, I was like, Phil, I received this letter, read it to him. I'm like, how did this happen and what do I do? And he said, I'll tell you exactly how it happens. He was like, they get the obituaries, or they get newspapers. They flip to the obituaries. They find men who have died. They go to see if there's a surviving section, which he's like, sometimes you won't find that anymore because this is becoming such a problem. And he said, they'll just put your name in Google, and he's like, up pops your address. It's not that hard anymore. And he said, it's possible he sent out 20 letters that day, Amy, but he said it's also possible that, like, who knows if he's going to become obsessive. And the unfortunate thing is that he was in Indiana, but he was being released back to North Dakota. He'd been in prison for 10 years. And I was like, oh my God. I said, he spent 2 pages of telling me what a great guy he is, but I was like, he didn't tell me what he did. So could you tell me? And he was like, sure. And so he looks him up, and he was like, he stabbed someone at the casino, which is federal property. That's what resulted in federal prison over like a $5 bet. He didn't kill him. They were friends. They're great. And then, they're friends. And then he got caught having intercourse with a 15-year-old, and went by his girlfriend, and then she held him at, he held her at gunpoint to her head, and then his other charge was that, no, he held the gunpoint at her head. And then his other charge was that he pooped in a styrofoam cup and threw it at a guard and hit him. And I was like, that is so funny, Phil, because I was like, I begged my husband to send me a sign today that he was okay, and I was like, is he coming back as a poop flinging prisoner? Because that is something I feel like he would do. And so then he was like, Amy, you have to call the police. And I was like, okay. So I called the police in our local town. These 2 young guys show up, and they were like, never in our lives have we seen this. I'm really glad I could be your first. Now neighbors are like running over. There's 2 police cars. I was like, this is so dramatic. And so resulted in security cameras and all the good things. And I've never heard from, but he is out. I follow him on Facebook. I mean, I don't follow him. I like. Probably beep out his name.
You want to make sure he's not coming to your house.
Yeah, please.
That's bananas.
I didn't get a prisoner letter, so.
But what happened when I started going out into the public?
Let's hear it, girl.
Oh man, my big girl had one of my daughters drop me off at the brewery, waiting to meet my other daughter and her girlfriend. So I'm gonna get in line, feeling pretty, with a little dress on, putting my cowboy boots on. I'm gonna get in line and buy a cocktail. So this young kid behind me, I call him young kid because everyone younger than me is a kid. And he's like, I just want to say that I think you look really nice and your dress is really pretty. And it was like, do we compliment people about their dress? I was like, wow, that's really sweet, thank you. And he's like, no, really, I don't want it to sound weird, but I think you look like a lady. That's what I'm going for. A lady. I said, okay. So we start chatting. I'm meeting my daughter. He's like, how old are you? And I said, do we ask people how old? So, how old are you? He says, well, and I said, how old do you think I am? He's like, I think you're probably about 45. And I said, I'm 55. Oh my God. I said, how old are you? He's like, 31. I'm like, you are younger than both of my children. Oh my God, that was really sweet. It was really sweet. So then later on, as you know, we're drinking and the band's playing, and one guy just walks up to me and he's like, excuse my language, but he's like, I think you're fucking hot. Do you want to go to the car? Do you want to go to my car? And I just looked at him and I was like, wow. So that's a hard no. And has that worked for you in the past? It's like, so this is the dating, the world. This is what's out in the world.
But also, what a successful evening. I feel like I keep hearing stories about, like, just going to the bar, you know, getting hit on twice. I'm like, this has never been my experience. Yeah, no one's coming up and, like, offering up. So,
but it was completely like this totally innocent, sweet young man. Like, I think you look like a lady and so pretty. And this guy's going, let's go to the car. And I was like, how do I make sense of this?
It just means you're hot.
Yeah. You take dating approach and think, how old do you think the guy that was like, let's go to the car?
Oh, he was easily in his 40s, 50s.
Okay, so that's the difference.
Exactly.
Just knows what he wants and goes for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, and I asked Mike, has this worked for you in the past? Like, what?
Yeah.
This is. He walked away because my daughter, while she grabbed me, she was like, loser, we're out of here.
I like that your daughter was there for this too.
Oh, and her girlfriend, which is she's like my other daughter, so they just were laughing their asses off. They're like, yeah, Mom, go get it. Go to somebody else. Go find the boy who said you look like a lady. And I was like, no. I found him.
To like figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, good question.
What's that?
I said, have you ever wanted to kind of figure it out? Because you are hot.
Yeah.
You sure can.
I went back and found him.
Were you not going to tell us that?
She's like, where have you been? I was like, with the boy, you said I look like a pretty lady. Then it was time to go home.
That's awesome. Has anybody else met people in the wild?
Organically?
Yeah.
Yes, organically.
Yeah. The last guy I dated, I did.
Oh, you did? How'd you meet?
Same steakhouse.
Oh.
And I was with Rob's best friends. And we went to dinner, they came to visit. There was one little spot, like, to go get a drink. So I went in to go get a drink for everybody, put my hands on this guy. And the guy's like, do I know you? I was like, I live in Hoboken, blah, blah, blah. Little by little, we went back and forth. And we dated for 2 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've only met people in the wild other than that 37 minutes of but it's all been through friends.
I met a guy at a bar and the bartender switched our credit cards.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Tell that story.
Yeah. Okay, so this was not very long after my husband's death, so maybe 3 or 4 months. So I wasn't looking to date, but I was definitely looking to have fun, maybe. And I think I like had like a nail appointment or something in a town bigger than I live in, and so I was like, I'm gonna go out to the bar after this. You know, it's not that far from where I live, but so go out to the bar. I'm sitting at one end, this cute guy's at this other end, and we're just like talking across the bar to each other, like joking around. This guy was loud and talkative, much like myself. And the bartender was like, can you guys please sit next to each other and just like stop? So he comes over, sits next to me, we're talking and drinking and having a good time. And then he asked me for my number, I gave it to him. I was like, had zero intention of ever talking to him again, not because I wasn't interested, I just wasn't ready, really. Anyways, leave, go home, next morning wake up, have a text message, I think I have your debit card. And I'm like, fuck. Go grab my bag. Or shit. What can we say?
All those
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Fuck shit. Where's my debit card? I go to my bag. I get my wallet out. Sure enough, it's gone. And I have his. And so I'm like, okay, we have each other's cards. He's like, so are you available today? We can like meet up. So, you know, stone cold sober, bright middle of the afternoon, meet at, like, he worked at a restaurant, like, so I came by to switch the cards. And so he sits down, and I'm, like, hoping to just, like, do this interaction, leave. And he's like, I'd really like to take you to dinner. I'm like, I don't really want to go to dinner. And then he names, like, my favorite place, which is kind of, like, off the beaten path. He's like, I'd really love to take you there. And I'm like, damn it. okay. And then, I guess. And then he's like, I'm going to call right now and make a reservation. I'm like, well, that's kind of impressive. Anyway, so he does. That date was nice. Second date was horrible. Oh, no. He was like, want to go to a bar and like play pool. I'm like, I'm shit at pool, but yeah, I'll play.
Oh, this is the same guy?
Same guy.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So second date, so go to a bar, we play around, he wins, and then someone was like, I want to play you because you won. And I'm like, that's chill, like you play, I'll sit down. He doesn't stop. He just keeps playing while I sit at the bar and start talking to another random guy sitting at the bar. He comes over and he's like, are you not going to watch me play? And I was like, I am not going to watch you play. Oh my God. So yeah, that was the end of that.
Watch me.
I see that a lot on the apps when they're like, oh, I'll be into you if like you will like watch or play video games with me. Or yeah.
Be into you.
Yeah. Like it's all like want to do this stuff with me. And it's like you just want to do your stuff, but you want
Me to sit there.
Me to sit and watch you play video games?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a thing?
Yeah. I'll send you screenshots.
I'm going to add that to my list of things I do not want to do.
Don't want to do that.
I got one.
All right.
Yeah.
I got one.
Share.
So I did not start thinking about dating until a year after my husband died. I kind of gave that to myself or to him as a sign of respect. But the first guy that I went on a date with, I met him on Bumble. We had texted a few times. Of course, I was the one that had to ask him to meet, like let's go out. We go to this really nice brewery in where I live, and they were full to capacity. They were like, it's 45-minute wait. Mind you, this guy actually just relocated to the state that I live in, so he wasn't very familiar. So I was like, well, B-Dubs is right up the street. Let's go up there. We go up there, and this is the first time that I noticed his outfit, like once we're in B-Dubs. Prior to this, I knew he was a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. His outfit, when he took off his coat, was just this sweater that said like Bruce Springsteen from side to side, and he actually had it stitched into his pants as well. And then I notice he's wearing a necklace, but it's almost like one of those beachy necklaces with a Bruce Springsteen guitar pick to it. I was like, okay, let me just get some wings, some beers. This is me ripping off the Band-Aid. I'm just gonna sit here and talk to this guy.
Date one.
Date one. As we're talking, he asks, he knows that I have a son, and he asks about my husband, if he still, like, when we got divorced, was like, we didn't get divorced, he died, and his eyes just get huge, wide, and he was like, you mean to tell me I'm your first? I was like, you were not my first. That happened like when I was 15, but you are my first date since my husband died. We're talking, and I'm telling him all about my son, and then he just looks at me and he's like, well, I want you to know, I will treat your son as my own. And I was like, that's great to know. Yeah. Great to know. Oh my God, if it did work out, they got matching Bruce Springsteen outfits. It would have been horrible. But,
oh my God.
I will never love you as much as Bruce, though.
Basically. And, he was just wanted to tell me so much about how many Bruce Springsteen concerts he's been to. He was 36, I was 38 at the time, so he kept on calling me ma'am as well. And I was like, you're doing this jokingly, right? He's like, no, you're older than me. You're a ma'am. And I was like, well, all right then. We leave, and like he goes in. I give him a hug because I'm too nice. And he goes in to try and kiss me, and as soon as I turn my head, he like just plants one on my ear. But then the sound of the kiss was so loud in my ear that I was just like, oh, like that. And then he was like, I would like to do this again. Me being me, because I'm too nice. I'm like, yeah, sure. Totally ghosted him after that, just because he was just a walking billboard of Bruce Springsteen. And then, I don't know, we were just opposite ends of the spectrum, too.
Oh my God. Is Bruce Springsteen not tolerable? It was just too much.
It was just... I knew he was a fan. I didn't know he was obsessed.
Too much. Yeah.
Is there another artist that you would be okay with that kind of tribute to?
Good question.
I mean, yes, bias, because it would obviously be someone that I like.
Such as?
But see, this is where we are opposite ends of the spectrum. He loved Bruce Springsteen. He loved classic rock. I am more like hip hop, rap, Beyonce, Lizzo,
So if he
all
was
that kind
like
of stuff.
Beyonce'd out, like he's got like a big gold bee necklace, he's got like Beyonce tea.
I know. I think the date might have gone differently because I would have thought in my head to keep that in mind in case she goes on tour.
Yeah.
Get us some tickets.
Strategy.
Yeah, you're right. Everyone's gonna be like, I don't ever want to date.
Yeah, people had like nice
Yeah, let's
first
do nice things. Yeah.
All right.
Warm fuzzies.
All right. Go.
Yeah, so I had the best first date. I've only had good dates, so I feel really like lame, only having good dates. But
Give the people hope.
yeah, so
Yeah. Do you want to tell us your vetting process?
yes, she makes fun of me because I have a really hard vetting process. I basically text for like 3 weeks, and I do not meet anybody that is not worthy of my time. Like, I have to know that they're gentlemen. I have to know that they like are worth leaving my kids for and like paying a babysitter and like asking friends for. And so I make sure that they're invested in me as a human, not even necessarily as a relationship, but just me as a human. Like, I want to know that they like value a person, not necessarily like a girlfriend, but that I'm gonna like enjoy conversation and be able to, have something stimulating and not just, how's the weather? And okay, cool. And I just don't want that. So I'm very like particular about who I go out with. But my very first date was amazing. Yeah, I went to a mini golf place, and it was like we were best friends. It was the first time we'd ever met. And we just gave each other a huge hug, and we talked for hours and hours. And I'm still best friends with this person to this day. Like, we still talk, we still check in on each other, we still tell each other about each other's dating lives, and he's always been very like forthcoming and very truthful, and I've even like flown over states with him, and
Why isn't it happening?
Yeah. Basically the main reason that he it was kind of him. Like, I say me too, because ultimately, like, I'm Christian, so he's not a Christian, and that was kind of like, I didn't want that, but ultimately I feel like it was him that like got the ball rolling, like why this wasn't gonna work. And it was essentially like he's divorced, and so he has 2 kids, and it was like, I don't want to see your kids more than I see my kids.
Yeah, that's
and
hard.
so I was like, oh, okay. And then, it kind of like, I was like, oh, well, if this would, and then maybe I just rationalized it in my mind, like, oh, this would have worked anyways. And I was so fresh in my grief that I wasn't super affected by it. Like, he was so sweet, he was so kind, he was so honest, that it wasn't like this all-consuming, like, I'm never gonna find love again, like, oh, nobody loves me. And like, it wasn't like that. It was so like a friendship thing where it was like I respected that, and I was like, okay, he could be honest with me, say these things to me, and rather than lead me on and make me heartbroken in the end. And not that it still didn't break my heart. It definitely like hurt. I took like an ego, a hit to the ego, but it wasn't like I had just experienced death. So for me, it was just like, oh, okay, like.
Yeah, it's not,
that's yeah. And then he was just so good to me. Like, we were just still friends. Like, we still like would watch movies together. We'd still go on dates. Like, we still talked and text. It wasn't like this, you're a terrible person, I don't want to be with you. It was just very like, this is not what I want my future to look like, or my kids' future to look like. And I was like, okay, I respected that. And so yeah, it was really great. And like, we didn't kiss. It was very
Ever?
No, not just that night, like our first kiss, like, because we're talking about first dates, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we didn't kiss that night, but we texted all night afterwards, like, I had the best time. And we were both each other's first dates after his divorce and my widowhood, and we were also each other's first sexual experiences after. So it was just kind of like intimate and fun and nice. I liked it.
Seems very grown up.
It was. It
very
really,
adult.
it really
not
was.
adult in that way, but like, you know.
Yeah, and like I said, he's still my best friend. Like, I say that lightly because obviously I know that that's not going to be something sustainable once I'm in a relationship. But like, we're both still single, and we're both still like dating, and yeah. So it's been a while now that we've known each other. I won't say exactly the timeline, but like 2 months ago, he told me he loved me, and it was super like casual. It was
like the friendship.
Yes. I was like, did you tell me you loved me? He's like, I did. I was like, I love you too. Like, it was just one of those really casual, platonic, like, we've been through a lot. And it was just so easy and organic. And so we've been through so much in this last timeline that, like, that makes sense. Like, it only makes sense that we've stayed each other's people in a really weird season. And we respect each other enough that it's really special. So I admire him a lot. I respect him a lot. Really good.
It's a good ending to a first experience too.
Yeah.
Any others that people feel like they want to share?
I mean, I have something that's not a dating story, but that last story reminded me because she had such a lovely ending. I do want to address it. I think this is common of when you're in a relationship that doesn't work out after being widowed. I dated this person much longer than I should have, over a year. COVID happened, so that was part of the reason. And had a lot of fun with him. He was a good guy, but always knew he was not my person. I ended it, like, was fully, like, confident that this is not a person I wanted to be with. And it was still heartbreaking. Like, I feel like I had such a, like, emotional response to that. Like, so much grief came up from that, like, I was like, why is this happening? Like, why am I crying so much about this person that I don't see a future with? At that point, it was like not even that great because we probably should have ended it like 6 months before. And so it like wasn't even a great spot in our relationship. But I think it's really important to talk about because it like just brought up all of the other grief stuff of like, why am I here? Why am I having to date? Why am I having to go through any of this heartbreak again? And it's, because my husband is dead. And it just like brings all of that up. And I think a lot of people have had that experience that have like been in like more longer term situations after that, and just want to like say how common that is. Yeah.
I have a good first experience.
Okay.
I think. This one is not, I mean, it's kind of funny, but not really funny. So I am, everybody knows, 8 months out. So around like 4 months, 5 months is when I kind of started thinking like, I'm lonely. Like, not really wanting to like be in a relationship, but like just wanting to be with someone and do something different other than taking care of my 2 kids all day, every day, and all of that. So it was Christmas, 2 days before Christmas Eve. My 2 best friends and I went out. Just like we go out every Christmas for like a girls' night. So we went out, and I was like, "You guys are gonna be my wing women tonight." Like, and they were like, "We got you. We're gonna find you somebody." And we're like laughing about it because at this point I'm not like I wasn't on dating apps, I wasn't doing anything. I was just like, all right, like, yeah. So we go out, and then the first bar we go to, well, we ended up having sushi and having sake bombs at like 7 o'clock. So by 10 p.m., we were having a really good time. So we ended up like meeting this group of men at the bar, and we're talking, and one of them was pretty good looking, blonde, tall, whatever. And so we're talking, and we end up like just having a really good time. I was blacked out drunk like pretty much the whole time. We like made out, exchanged numbers. I thought that was gonna kind of be the end of it. I was like, that's what I needed. Like, this is gonna be great. Like, I just need to get that out of my system. He texted me the next day, and I'm like, who is this person that texted me? Because I didn't remember. But it started coming back to me, and he was really, really nice. He was 29. I'm 30. I was 35 at the time. And he wanted to go out again, and I'm like, okay. He was also a firefighter. This is a pattern. But he was a wildfire fighter and lived in California. He was in town for 2 weeks. So we went out again, and we ended up going out like 3 or 4 times, like over the course of 2 weeks. I never told him that I was widowed. I didn't tell him I was married. I didn't tell him I had kids. Nothing. Like, we just talked. I don't even know how we ended up hanging. I'm like, what do I even have to talk about, like, other than all of that? But it was so nice. Like, it was so nice, like, because he just saw me as, like, me. Like, not a mom, not a widow, like, not any of this other shitty stuff. Like, it was just him and I lied about my age. I told him I was like 32. At one point, he asked me what year I graduated from high school, and I was like, I'm trying to do math, and I was not sober, and I don't know. I don't even know if he didn't notice.
Did you graduate from?
But he was really cute, and he was a really great guy. Like, he lived in California, so I think both of us knew, like, it is what it is. Like, we're hanging out while he was in town. And then we ended up having sex in the back of my car.
Car sex is fun.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. Can we go to embarrassing stories?
Yeah.
And record them?
And then that was it. And then he left like 2 days later, and we texted a little bit like after he left, and I was like, next time you're in town, like, hit me up. And I was so nervous that I was so nervous that I like took my I pre-planned. I took my car seats out of the car. I knew this was gonna happen. I took the car seats out, vacuumed all the goldfish out of the back.
Oh my God.
But I was so nervous that I was gonna like see him out in public, like at like Target or some shit, like with my kids.
Okay.
So yeah, but it was. I mean, honestly, like it's exactly what I needed to like give me a little bit of confidence to be like, okay, like like this 29-year-old like thinks that I'm cute, like whatever, and it was good.
That's fun.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're gonna leave it there so that we can just open it up for regular conversation. But that was really good. All right, so we're sitting at our final dinner in Costa Rica, and we thought it would be fun to do some quick questions, sex edition. And if you know anybody who came to Costa Rica, please stop the podcast now because you don't want to know these details. So the first question is, what do you do with the hair down there? Ladies, are you ready?
See.
All right, go.
Shave it. Groom it. Grooming. Grooming. Groom it. Groom it. Laser.
Ooh. Laser.
Groom. Groom. Wax it. Ooh. Groom.
Wax it.
Groom. Shave it. Let it ride. Let it ride. Shave.
Shave.
Groom it. All right. All right. Do you match your underwear?
Only with your bra?
Yes. Like undergarments on a date, not just like every day. Do you match your underwear?
Match it.
Yes.
Mismatch.
No.
Never.
No.
No. Only if I know we're gonna have sex.
No. Sometimes.
Match it every day.
Absolutely.
Definitely not.
Nope. Nope. Do I even have a matching set? No. No. No.
Hell yes. Okay. Do you?
I have a question.
Yes.
Where do you hide your toys?
Oh. Okay. Okay. Ready?
In the closet.
I live alone, so they're not hidden.
Bedroom closet. Bedside table.
Yeah, mine also aren't hidden.
Nighttime table. Bedside table.
Closet.
Nightstand. In my closet.
2 answers. Dos manos. Top drawer in the closet.
Pleasure chest.
Nightstand.
Top drawer, my kids got into the nightstand.
Corner of the closet, hidden.
A pillowcase. I don't know how that happened, but a pillowcase.
Pillowcase too.
I don't have one to hide.
Top drawer of the nightstand.
Okay, so she said I don't have one to hide. Yes, that was my question too. Okay, so now the question is going to be toys or hands. So I would just, what's better? What's better for you, toys or hands? This is very personal. Sorry. Yes. You can X out if you don't want to answer. Are you ready?
Yes.
Toys.
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 Toys. I don't think they have to be mutually exclusive. Both at the same time.
Both, but toys are better.
Toys. I don't do it anymore.
Oh yes, we talked about this.
Hands.
Toys are quicker.
Hands.
Both, but toys.
Both.
Toys.
Toys.
Hand.
Both.
Both.
Hands.
Hands.
I know myself better than the toys do, so it's the hands. Okay, next question was, when you are exercising, do you go down there?
Can I share a story real quick?
Okay,
I
yes.
got a blowjob once, and he said, "I don't know what to do. I feel like I should buy you a gift."
That's hilarious.
She's gotta have a stand-up show.
He's so good. All right. Okay, so just to be very clear, while you're having sex, do you give the guys a blowjob? Yes, no, not to finish, just as part of the process. Sometimes, always, never. Okay.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Never.
Sometimes. Sometimes. Almost always.
Sometimes.
Usually.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Not yet.
Always.
If they're worth it.
Most times.
Always.
Sometimes.
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 What about like best place you've had sex with a new
Oh,
Yeah.
someplace you've had sex outside the bed?
with a new yeah.
With a new partner?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good.
That's hard because not everyone.
Okay.
Well, I don't.
Well, or we could just cross out. Or you could raise your hand if you have one. How about that? Okay, interesting place you've had sex. So it has to be outside the bed. Anybody have one?
The tailgate of the car. The beach boardwalk. Sauna.
Third row of the Atlas.
Is it a theater?
The car.
Go. Any others down here?
The beach.
A wedding.
The car, the kitchen floor, the beach. Yes, to those.
Let's think about anything else we thought about really early on when we were all of us were very first dating.
Yeah.
The real things we had questions about, especially being widows.
Oh, like if you cried the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Scared about.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
If you cried the first time.
The question is, did you cry? Did you cry the first time you had sex after your husband?
Yeah.
Okay, or your person died. Ready?
Yep. I did not.
No.
A little.
No.
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 No. No.
A little bit.
No.
No.
Yes.
No.
No.
I haven't gotten there yet.
Yes.
No. Yeah, after your husband died, did you or do you still, or are there tears involved with masturbating after your husband died?
I have nothing.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
I don't.
Yes.
No.
No.
I used to, yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Yes.
Early on, absolutely.
No.
No.
Early on for me, yes. All right. Any others? So the question there was, did you disclose to your first sexual partner after your person died if you were widowed? And 2 of the 19 of us said yes. 2 said no, because everybody else I think had told. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it. Thanks, ladies. I think that's helpful. All right, cool. Thanks for listening. I hope some of that was helpful or fun or funny or gave you a chuckle. And reach out if you have questions about the upcoming trip or anything really. Also, one reminder that on the Patreon there is a recent conversation with my boyfriend about what it is like to date a widow, his perspective being a man dating a widow. So if you're interested in that, make sure you join the bonus bag tier of the Patreon, and maybe we'll see you over there. All right, have a good week, everyone.